and Bryce Fowler for Alabama. First pitch just a bit low, 1-0. Sophomore from Madisonville, Louisiana, coming off of his worst outing, but 2 starts ago he was magnificent. 9-inning complete game shutout against Oklahoma.
Yeah, Tommy, he's turned himself into a real number one. You see the numbers on the year, 6 wins on the year, a very solid ERA. Look at the strikeout to walk ratio. He is a strike thrower. 81 punch outs, only 13 walks. And you saw the last line, it says helium on there.
Yeah.
Projected to be a second-round pick when the season started, but for me, Tom, he has pitched his way into the first round here at the midway point in SEC play.
Well, that is saying something for the season for Anderson in 52 innings pitched.
Yeah, he can do this, and this is sneaky. I mean, sneaky fast. That's 95 pitched this year, and it's his second most used pitch, changeup and a curveball. But he'll grab that cross-seamer every now and then, and he can step on it, and he just did at 95.
And here's the headliner, Justin LeBron. First pitch low and into the Golden Spikes mid-season award watch list. Shortstop, sophomore from Miramar, Florida, had a good season last year. First team freshman All-American, first team SEC, but he has really taken off this season, and he looks at a strike and a breaking ball. And welcome to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tom Hart alongside Ben McDonald. Game 1 of a 3-game series between Alabama and LSU. Top prospect Justin LeBron taps into a 6-3 ground out and 2 out in the first inning for LSU ace Cade Anderson, who matches up with left-handed hitting Cade Snell now. Rob Vaughn, the Alabama head coach, has put 2 lefties in the top third of this Bama order, and he's got 4 lefties in the lineup against the left-handed pitcher. To traditionalists, that doesn't make much sense.
No, but if you look at the numbers, Cade Anderson is a reverse splits guy, meaning left-handers hit better off of him than right-handers. That is a little bit unusual, and it's not by a little bit, Tom. It's by 67 points lefties are hitting better. So you see why Rob Vaughn has a lot of lefties in that lineup tonight.
Second year as a head man at the Capstone after coming over from Maryland. One of those series losses was when he was a Maryland assistant coach. And after hollering out at Darren Hyman, the home plate umpire, now Jay Johnson will come out. What was Cade Anderson doing on the mound that Rob Vaughn took issue with?
I have no idea.
I mean, this is just a guess, but usually that's when a guy's going to his mouth when he's on the mound, going to his,
You can go to your mouth, but you have to wipe it off. Now, you can't go to your mouth on the rubber, but on the dirt you can go to your mouth, but you got to make sure you wipe it off on your pants or your shirt or whatever. So maybe that's what it was.
I want to know the count.
I don't think Cade Anderson's thrown any spitballs yet this year.
I don't think he needs to. And by the way, this will be a fascinating matchup. Cade versus Cade. The one on the mound is 5th in the country in strikeouts, and Cade Snell has a 6% K rate. He's the toughest to strike out in the SEC. Looks at a breaking ball for a strike.
Now that's a curveball right there, and of course Anderson's got 2 different breaking balls. The new slider that he learned this year and the overhand curveball, which he had as his freshman year last year.
Little dribbler foul at first. And we'll try it again at 1-2. How has that changed what Cade Anderson is as a pitcher?
I think it gave him something with that hard slider that he's got now to get inside on the right-handed hitters. A pitch to kind of speed the bats up and be able to get that slider inside the right-handers. He can backdoor it as well to the right-handers, and he can push it away from the left-handers. So watch the miss right here. Wants it away, but look where that ball is. I mean, center cut, and that is on time right there.
Alabama program lost the series. In fact, they've lost their last 2 series. Also dropped 2 out of 3 in the road trip to Auburn the week prior. 1-0 now the count.
Yeah, Alabama, I mean, off to a 22-1 start to begin the year, but they're pretty much a 500 team of their last 15 games. They're 8-7 of their last 15.
Richie Bonamolo looks at a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike to Bonamolo, junior from Bronx, New York. Came to Bama by way of Wabash Valley College. That pitch is outside. Moved to the leadoff spot on March 29th. Now with the lefty going tonight. Once again, it looks a little bit different because of the reverse splits. But Bonamolo down in the cleanup spot. In for a strike, 2-2.
Yeah, Alabama's offense overall 7th best in the SEC, 8 runs a game. Now, they have struggled to score runs in SEC play, only averaging 4.7, which is 14th out of 16 teams.
Nice block by Hernandez, putting his chin in there. Full count. LSU middle of the pack defensively, 7th in the SEC in fielding percentage at .979. LSU lines them up under the direction of Jay Johnson. He's got a national title in his pocket. Hit less than 200 last week against Auburn. They're 2nd in the SEC in batting at .319, but 9th in home runs. It just doesn't feel like the same type of LSU lineup, but Jay Johnson has proven he can win with various styles.
No, that's very fair. I mean, we're used to seeing LSU hit home runs. That's what they're known for. And you go back to the last 2 years before this year, LSU's averaged 129 home runs the last 2 seasons. They sit right now at just 55, which is the 9th best mark in the SEC. It's more about the sum of the parts for this offense. 1 through 9 can figure out ways to give you some really good at-bats. And there's Tyler Fay, the sophomore, 6'5", 215-pounder out of Nebraska is where he is from. And I tell you what, 2nd career start, his freshman year last year, all out of the bullpen until just last weekend, makes a transition into a starting role. And you know, Rob Vaughn told me and you on the conference call, he said, listen, we're having trouble in the first inning stacking zeros. And so I'm going to shake it up a little bit. I'm going to go get one of my relievers. I'm going to plug him in for a 2nd career start. And I told him, treat the first inning like it's the 9th inning. I want to stack a zero and give our offense a chance to do some damage early.
Derek Curiel hammers it first and puts it right back up the box. How about that?
Me as impressive as anybody. I mean, he has reached base now in every game this year. Top 10 in LSU history with that consecutive game streak now at 39.
Well, it's got to be the shoes. Told me today at the cage he's breaking out the new Jays today.
Look at that.
His first time out. He said, I got to get back on track. And Jay just kind of laughed and he said, he's been on track all season.
I was thinking to say, your freshman year, you hit 362. That's pretty well on track.
Here's Ethan Fry, the DH. Junior from Rose Pine, Louisiana, hitting .370 with a half dozen home runs. Kind of took over that DH role, grabbed a hold of it, and hasn't let go. Outside 2-0.
Yeah, Jay Johnson, LSU coach, was kind of doing some platooning, you know, and Fry was getting the starts against left-handed arms early. It was Josh Pearson and others getting some starts against right-handers, but he was just kind of waiting for somebody to kind of raise their hand and say, look, I want to be the everyday DH, and Ethan Fry has done that as of late.
Fry looks at a strike. 6'6", 225. Did he grow in the offseason?
No, he's been a big kid, and you know, pretty good story. He didn't get much playing time his freshman or his sophomore year. Just kind of waited his turn, what did bats for him, and boy, he has come on in a big way for LSU as of late.
11 starts his first 2 seasons on campus, swinging a miss on the breaking ball. I want to go back to what you said a moment ago about Fay on the mound for Alabama. When you hear somebody say, pitch like it's the 8th, pitch like it's the 9th in the first, what does that mean?
That means I want you wide open. Give me what you got. I mean, the most pitches Fay has thrown all season is 50, and he did that last weekend in his first career start. And so, talking to Rob Vaughn before the game, he said, listen, if we get 60 pitches out of him, that's probably all we're going to get tonight. But if he can go out there and give us 4 innings and maybe give up 1 run, he said, I will take that because the starts have been rough for us in SEC play.
3 1/3 against Mississippi State. Through 50 pitches, runner going, and the throw down is a little bit wide. Norton tried to deke him. It's a stolen.
A little bit more this year than what they ran last year. So that's a 33rd stolen base, which still is toward the bottom of the SEC. But if you look at it, LSU only stole 39 bases the entire season last year. So just 6 off of what they did last year.
Emblematic of trying to manufacture runs as opposed to just slugging it.
Yep, because that's what LSU was known for the last 2 years. That's how they won ball games, hitting the long ball. And this team is a little bit different. They don't hit a lot of homers, but they do lead the SEC in doubles. They got one of the best on-base percentages, one of the fewest strikeouts in the SEC play. So they kind of do it a different way.
Here's Jared Jones, one of the few power holdovers from last year's team with Tommy White onto the pros. Jones tied for 7th in the SEC in home runs with 12 of them. White got drafted by the A's. And Jarrett also tied for 4th in the league with those 53 ribbies. Oh, 1. Gave him inside for a strike, much to Jones' chagrin.
Yeah, Jones had a rough weekend at Auburn last weekend. Went 1 for 13 and struck out 6 times. But he kind of made up for it in the midweek game. Got his mojo back. If you reached all 5 plate appearances against McNeese on Tuesday night, including a home run.
Now you just surprised me. Up and in. And it gets away from the catcher. That allows an extra 90 feet for Curiel on a wild pitch. I thought if anybody, you would go with McNeese instead of McNeese.
Well, I'm Mick Donald, not Mac Donald, so I guess that's where the Mick comes from.
That's fair.
Spelled MC.
And how about McDowell's? They got the golden arches. We got the golden arc.
That's true. That's true.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Jared Jones.
You know how I am about my enunciations every now and then. They're not always on point.
Well, Daniel Dickinson to the plate. He's hitting 13 out of 15. It's amazing. I mean, you've seen this team all season long, this LSU team, what Jay Johnson has done in terms of building the roster with the leftover talent they had and getting in the portal and not grabbing them from, I don't know, NC State as an example with Tommy White, but going to Utah Valley to get Dickinson, and he was rated the number 3 second baseman in the country. Coming in, fouled off, and out of play.
Yeah, he was one of the top.
Just threw the barrel out at this one, and Justin LeBron will have the easy catch. Leadoff man gets on, but can't get in after moving around. No runs, a hit. 1 left on. We go to was in turmoil before he was able to take over the job. He brought a winning tradition with him from the ACC, and the first pitch in for a strike to Hodo from Cade Anderson. You know, Alabama, going back to 2007, has only hosted in the postseason once. That was in 23. And what a real opportunity in front of them now to be able to play at the Joe in June.
No doubt. I tell you what, you talk about young coaches, and Rob Vaughn, just 37 years old, in his 8th year as a head coach, just his 2nd at Alabama, but not many better than him. Now, he just at Maryland, what he did at Maryland was amazing.
In for a strike to Hodo, who went 2 for 10 against Mississippi State last week. They get the shift on for him, and Braswell, who's a shortstop by trade, is over there as the 3rd baseman. He did not go, according to Augustus Griffin, and the count 2-2.
Yeah, this LSU defense, you got 3 shortstops. I mean, Dickinson's played some shortstop. Of course, Milam played shortstop in high school and playing it now. And Braswell, we know at South Carolina, was a starting shortstop for 2 years, and at LSU, sent right by Torres for his 4th strikeout of the night for Cade Anderson.
Cade Anderson looks like, and we use this term in college baseball, a Friday night ace. And I understand it's Thursday. Here's Garrett Staten for Alabama. Big cut, nothing doing.
Yeah, you talk about a kid that's grown up a lot. And it's not that his freshman year wasn't bad, because overall last year the ERA was right at 4. But in SEC play for Cade Anderson last year, Tom, 3 1/3. He gave up 10 earned runs and 12 hits in 3 1/3. So he made some adjustments, grew up a little bit.
That'll punch you in the nose.
Yeah, and look, he got a little more to his fastball this year and came up with that new pitch we're talking about, the slider. But you know, his demeanor on the mound just screams Friday night. I mean, he's got 4 real pitches. There's the breaking ball again, and he just fills up the strike zone.
7 games with more than 5 innings and 8 Ks this season. Struck out 14 in the complete game shutting against the Sooners. Just off the plate. Missed with the fastball, 2-2.
Anderson threw, 135 pitches in that. That's some old school stuff
that
there.
Is old. That's some Ben McDonald stuff. By the way, all 4 infielders had taken 2 steps towards the dugout. They thought it was a strike. Try it again. This time the breaking ball. Yeah, he had it on cruise control the last few innings of that game.
And I was okay with that. And the reason why is he had an extra day's rest. So he pitched on a Thursday night, then he went to the Friday night the following weekend. So he had an extra day's rest. So I know people made a big deal out of it, but I didn't think it was a big deal at all.
Casey's record. Bama's got 5 more wins head-to-head than LSU claims, but give or take, this is about the 388th meeting, depending on who you ask. LSU has won 14 of the last 17 series head-to-head that Bama got on last year. And Stephen Milam looks at a first pitch strike from Tyler Fay, 0-1. Fay's breaking ball is just off the plate. Milam is from Las Cruces, New Mexico, out of Centennial High School. Sophomore, 5'8", $177, starting second baseman last year. I've always felt, and I've had this conversation with each of the last 2 LSU head coaches, that playing shortstop at LSU carries a little bit more weight. Not that you have to be a type A guy, but we've seen real leaders at that position, and that responsibility is a real one.
Oh, no doubt about that. And Milam is that guy. Remember how he came on late last year for LSU and really emerged his freshman year? And, you know, the big talk about him was, could he transition from second base to the shortstop? Could he play the shortstop position? Did he have the arm strength to do it? Well, he's proven he does. He does it a little bit different way, Tommy. Like, you know, he gets the ball in and out of the glove. He doesn't have a big cannon like you'll see from LeBron over at shortstop position for Alabama. But his transition from glove to throwing hand is quick. His feet are really good, and he's played a really solid shortstop for LSU this year.
Now Jake Brown at the plate. And the first pitch is upstairs to Brown, sophomore out of Sulphur, Louisiana. Was a #1 player in the state and the Gatorade Louisiana Player of the Year as a high schooler, and he sends a shot to center. Played perfectly by Bonamolo, and they're 2 down. Hey, pretty good start for Tyler Fay if he can keep this going.
Yeah.
From and he's got Michael Braswell III at the plate now. In terms of what they wanted from him and what he's giving so far, sitting at 20 pitches through an inning and 2/3. And at the bottom of the order, the 7-hole Michael Braswell. We'll chat with Jay Johnson, the head man here, when we return. Missed with the fastball, 1-1.
Yeah, it's not easy to make a transition as a reliever into a starting role, but he's done it
for you. So move forward and you know, attack Alabama this weekend.
Jay, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Couple trips to Omaha. First for Arizona, then winning it all with LSU a couple of seasons ago. He told me, got to feel
the lead now.
Both runs coming on solo shots, and a first pitch breaking ball to Brennan Norton. That ends a string of 4 straight Ks from Cade Anderson. Norton's a transfer from Jacksonville State. Taps this one to short. Milam at the range. And a sidearm shot. 1 down.
Yeah, if there is a knock on Cade Anderson, he does give up some home runs. You know, that's his 10th home run allowed in about 53 innings of work this year. And the reason is he throws a lot of strikes. And if you're a strike thrower, every now and then with the way the bats are and the equipment are, you're going to give up some home runs. And here in Baton Rouge, the weather is typical. It's warmed up, so you get that south wind blowing out. Ball's going to carry very, very well here at the box.
He has thrown first pitch strikes to each of the last 5 batters. And now Bryce Fowler at the plate. He struck out to start the game. As a pitcher in your background, how do you feel about solo home runs?
Okay for solo home runs. Typically solo home runs won't beat you. It's those 3-run shots that get you. And that's what Cade Anderson does, right? He doesn't walk many guys. He throws a lot of strikes. He's not going to beat himself. And he's going to hang around and give his offense a chance.
On this season, he has walked 13 against 86 strikeouts. That is a sensational ratio. Fowler's got 4 home runs in the season. 2 of them were grannies. 1 against his former team, Jacksonville State. Fly ball down the left field line. Braswell and Curiel chasing. Curiel runs out of space. That might have been a catch last year.
Could have been, yeah. You got the netting going all the way down. A little bit different look here at the box this year. The LSU bullpen is kind of tucked underneath the right field side over there. It used to be on the field. Both bullpens used to not be on the field, but not in the field to play, but on the field. But you can see where the Alabama bullpen is down the left field line there. So it's not as much room down the line. You see where it really corners in right there. Not nearly as much foul ground as it used to be going down both lines.
2-2. Fowler looks at a breaking ball inside. I would like to point out that there is netting between those field level seats and the bullpen. Right. So don't worry about, having a pop down there and taking an errant fastball to the dome.
If you want to, you can be on your phone and enjoy your adult beverage while you're down there.
Into the shift and directly at Dickinson. 2 down. And now here's Justin LeBron again. LeBron grounded out to short his first time up. Kylie McDaniel, who does all the draft research for us, says he would be the second player taken in this year's draft. He's just a sophomore. Had a great run for Alabama last year. Tied for 4th in the country with 15 home runs. And leads the country in RBI.
When I watched this guy swing, the first thing came to my mind was Mookie Betts. I mean, twitchy, lean, almost.
Former Tiger Brady Neal. Bama with a 2-0 lead.
About the same weight. A little bit taller than what Mookie Betts is, but that's what I saw when I saw the highlights of him swinging a bat. And you can dream on him a little bit. I mean, obviously at 180 pounds, he's going to fill out and probably gain another 15 pounds over the next 4 or 5 years. But the juice is real.
A foul of third where Braswell picks it up. Here's your Mookie Betts build first time up. Interesting scenario here for Fay. He's given him 32 pitches and has yet to allow a run. Pitching with the lead. Breaking ball in for a strike. How often does he throw that slider?
The scouting report says he's going to use the slider about 36% of the time. And it is his best pitch. When you talk about swing and miss, the whiff rate, his best at 37%. So it's been a really good pitch for him.
101. I feel like he's throwing it more than 37% of the time tonight.
That's what I'm seeing too. And I think the reason is, as a starting pitcher, you try to identify what's working for you tonight. And clearly that slider has the shape and the accuracy that he wants tonight. So I think he's using a little bit more than he typically does.
Dribbles that one foul, 1-2. Curiel's a 2-time member of the 18 and under USA national team. California native out of Orange Lutheran. Reached base again tonight. He's already set the LSU freshman record for on-base streak that was set by Mike Fontenot 25 years ago.
He reminds me of Alex Bregman would hit. It wasn't cockiness, it was confidence. This is what I do. This is what I bring to the table. Curiel kind of the same way. Like he knows he can play the game of baseball, and he stepped on campus not being cocky, just like, hey, I'm going to be a ball player. I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of. Because it's very rare in the SEC a true freshman comes in and is a contributor. But it's even rarer when you step to the very top of a lineup, a very good lineup, and you're the leadoff guy to show you what kind of guy he has been.
Well, 4th in the league in walks, tied for 3rd in doubles. He's had multi-hit games throughout SEC play already. And he sends this shot foul. He had 4 hits in the Auburn series, 3 against OU, 4 against Mississippi State, 4 against Texas, 5 against Mizzou. He hasn't had a bad conference series yet.
No, he can hit, Tommy. And the reason why he's so good at hitting, he will use the backside of the field as well as anybody. You pitch him away, he's going to hit bullets to the backside of the field. But he's quick enough. If you try to get one on the inside part, he's got some quick hands. He can get to it.
Enough to keep that ball and play off the carom. They're going to give him 3rd.
Well, speaking about being quick to the ball on the inside part plate, 2-ball bullet down the right field line. And I think he got an extra base on that because the right fielder, Fowler, actually touched that ball trying to retrieve it and kicked it into the stands. And so Curiel gets an extra 90.
Will they charge Fowler with an error on that one?
I would think so. See, right there.
Oh, yeah, fell out of his glove.
Yeah, he goes to throw it on the transition from glove to throwing hand. It just slipped out of the glove.
Wow. See that very often. Rob Vaughn looking for an explanation.
And you can read Rob Vaughn's lips. He said, oh, he actually had it. And that's what the umpire, yes, it went into his glove. And when he transitioned to the throwing hand, that's when it popped out and popped over the wall.
Yeah. If that had gone over the wall without being touched, it would just be a ground rule double. Stanfield would have scored regardless. So it's an RBI for Curiel. And Ethan Fry comes to the plate.
Yeah, this is where you have to be good in your situational hitting, right? Alabama playing the infield back, runner at third, less than 2 out. So just a routine ground ball for Ethan Fry to the middle part of the field will tie this ball game up.
Fry is a .400 hitter with runners on base. Came in hitting .370. In on the hands, 1-1.
And he's been one of the best for LSU hitting with runners in scoring position this year.
And Ben, I feel like this is a pivotal inning for Tyler Fay and what Alabama's going to do with its staff 1 and 2. If he can escape and hold on to the lead, he can maybe give them another inning,
right,
depending on how long this takes.
We mentioned it earlier. His season high was last weekend when he started for the very first time. He threw 50 pitches. You see, he's at 42 right now.
LSU is second in the SEC in sacrifice flies. That'd be good enough to tie the game because of the error on the right fielder Bryce Fowler. Just his second error of the season. Chipped foul, stays 2-2.
Tyler Fay, 2-seam fastball was that pitch. He can work it down and into the right-handers, down and away from the left-handers, but he also has a nice 4-seamer too. He'll grab that cross-seamer and pitch up in the zone from time to time.
So he comes with the Fry, and despite allowing the run, Tyler Fay has pitched well enough to hold the lead through 3. 2.
Yeah, Jared Jones for the first time this year started to expand the strike zone at Auburn, and he chased a lot of balls kind of up and away out of the strike zone. And typically he doesn't do that. He did it his freshman year. There was a lot of swing and miss there, but the last couple of years he's had a better.
Runs allowed by Cade Anderson tonight. And Snell hits the first one foul. We're talking briefly about the 135 pitches that Cade Anderson threw against Oklahoma. He came back last week with only 85 pitches. In that Oklahoma game, a 9-inning complete game, he struck out a career high 14. Of the 135 he threw, 91 were for strikes.
Wow.
And I feel like this is the most important part. They had a guy up and ready to go the last few innings, but he retired the final 12 batters he faced.
Yeah, he actually got stronger as the game went forward. And what was impressive for me is that he carried the velocity and the stuff all the way through 135.
It was the first complete game shutout for an LSU pitcher since 2018. A.J. Lamas against Lamar. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Lamas, right?
You're right.
Outside 2-2. And the first 9-inning complete game since Paul Skeens, remember him? He's pretty good. Did it against Tulane.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah, not bad. That was in the regional here at the box. Snell retired into the glove of Jake Brown. 1 down. We had LSU matchup the other night with Skeens pitching against Dylan Cruz.
I saw that. Yeah, Dylan off to a little bit of a slow start for the Nats offensively. Of course, he plays a mean outfield like he always does, and there's the matchup you're talking about. That's kind of what they've done in their careers. How about Paul Skeens? 26 starts now. Look at the ERA and the opponent's batting average. And 190 Ks, by the way, of course. Dylan's hitting 191, so that average is starting to come up a little bit. 191, though, Tommy, not very far. Me and you were talking about this. The average big league hitter so far this year is hitting 235.
Whew.
How does that compare? The average SEC hitter is hitting 307 this year.
307 sounds ridiculous.
That is now that's counting conference play and your non-conference schedule. But the average SEC hitter has an OPS of 950 and a batting average of 307.
I guess I'm just surprised given, and I know we don't have a bevy of major league starters in the SEC.
Yeah.
Right, in terms of Friday night aces. It feels like it's just down a hair. We got something on the warning track in right field that came out of the diamond deck. But that being the case, the SEC statistically is still loaded with the best pitching, arguably, in college baseball.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys out there that, you know, when I think about guys that could start at the major league level, there's not many of them in the SEC, and for that matter, there's not many around the country. That's an outstanding play right there by Michael Braswell. You talk about him playing shortstop.
Here's Will Hodo. Mark Wanaka handles the shifts for LSU and the scouting reports on the hitters. I haven't seen everybody in the league, but just going back to last year for LSU, I feel like they shift more than anybody, or just as much as anybody. In for a strike to Hodo, who struck out looking his first time up.
I mean, going back to our starter conversation, I think Witherspoon over at Oklahoma and I think Cade Anderson at LSU project as big league starting pitchers. But past that, I'm not sure. You know, I know the guy over at Tennessee, of course, Liam Doyle is striking out a ton of people. But for me, he doesn't throw enough balls in the strike zone to be an everyday starter to major league level. I mean, college kids will swing at the ball elevated a lot, but at the big league level, the hitters just know the strike zone so well. And so for me, Doyle right now, as dominant as he is, projects as a reliever for me.
He's allowed 2 hits. Both of them have left the yard. 2-1 Alabama lead. We'll chat with Rob Vaughn right after this. So where did all the pitching go?
I think it's, you know, you talk to some GMs, and I have, and you talk to some scouts. They say this draft, the high school and the college kids combined, this 2025 draft is one of the weakest that we've had probably in 5 or 6 years as far as talent goes. And so I just think it's down a little bit.
Just a cycle.
It's just a cycle. It happens from time to time where it's down a little bit. Doesn't mean there's some really, look, there's a lot of big leaguers out there that's going to make it to the big leagues. There's no doubt about that. But the overall talent, when you look at it, is a pool compared to last year.
This game one trying to cling to a 1-run lead. Is it
5-pounder? Making his 16th appearance of the year. He's been solid. 3.60 ERA, better than a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Only 19 hits and 20 innings of work for the left-hander.
So interesting scenario going to the bullpen for the lefty Heiberger. Stephen Milam, the switch hitter, is due up to face him. Milam is better by about 40 points against lefties than righties. But this is also a great Alabama infield. They lead the SEC in double plays turned. And Fay has shown to be a fly ball pitcher, limited sample size so far this season. So maybe Heiberger can play a little bit more to get the ball on the ground for Milam, who grounded out to the pitcher his last time up. And the first pitch is launched into center field. Bonamolo Jr. is there. 1 down.
Yeah, Matthew Heiberger, 4-pitch mix, fastball, cutter, slider, and a changeup as well. Fastball velocity going to be right around that 92 range will be the average.
Now they get lefty-lefty with Jake Brown.
That's kind of Heiberger's pitch right there. I mean, the scout report is right, and I'm sure it is. He throws 76% fastballs, which is an extremely high number. So if you're LSU, no need to look for anything else. Sit on the fastball and get after it.
Brown lined out to center field his first time up. They keep Dickinson near the bag. 5 swipes on the season for Dickinson. And a check of the numbers. Heiberger more of a ground ball than fly ball pitcher, not by a ton. The infield at double play depth. 1-1. What does that tell you about a pitcher who's fastball heavy being a great ground ball pitcher?
Tells me he keeps the ball down. You know, he creates a lot of sinking fastballs because he'll throw a 2 and a 4-seamers, what the scout report says. So he'll lean on that 2-seamer, try to keep it down. That's what he's looking for right here is a ground ball.
And for a strike, 1-2.
And if you're LSU and you're facing a guy that throws 76% fastballs, you want to see the ball up a little bit. In other words, you don't want to attack anything below the knees. Try to see it up.
Brown's a .300 hitter against lefties, .316 against righties, and a good stop by Brady Neal. Had to stretch for that one. Two years a Tiger and a national champion. Neal's got a home run to his name tonight. Runner not going. Ooh.
The zone has not been big. I mean, the outside part of the plate, you know, the ball you typically get in the college game, maybe a ball off the outside corner, has not been called a whole lot so far tonight. Right there.
I always wonder if we had a 3D look at the plate. Did that one cut across the plate? Because it seemingly ended outside of the strike zone. Here's Braswell. By the way, you saw Heiberger holding his glove up to his ear to hear the pitch comm communication. I don't know how many other teams do this, but Alabama has pitch comm units in all of their infielders' hats as well. Sometimes they'll use it for a pickoff attempt, for other defensive plays, but at the very least, it helps with positioning. They know what's coming. Or they could do what Cal Ripken Jr. did with one rookie pitcher and just call all the pitches from shortstop.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's important for your middle infielders, especially your center fielder, to have the pitch comm system because obviously when the off-speed pitch is coming, you may want to take a jab step to the pull side a little bit more. So it's nice to know what pitch is coming. Back in the old days, just put a finger down and everybody could see it from the shortstop or second base position and knew how to position themselves. At the big league level, though, they're only allowed to wear, of course, the pitcher has one, the catcher has one, and then 3 position players get to wear a pitch comm system. Typically, it's your middle infielders and your center fielder.
1-1. Why would they limit that?
That's a great question. I don't understand that.
I don't think money or equipment is an issue.
It's not money or equipment. So I don't know why, but that's what they decided to do. You got the pitch comm system, and you got still some guys wearing the wristbands, you know, and you can put communication in, and they can see what pitch is coming.
I'd be curious, and you probably know this, is the pitch comm, the units themselves, are they the same in the college game as there are in baseball in terms of how much they can share?
That's a good question because I know with some of the systems that are out there, you can actually send in different messages on pickoffs.
Yeah.
All kind of things, and there's, you know, and some are still using the microphones, the earpieces, and radio in by walkie-talkie calling pitches. So if a coach wanted to, he could alert the catcher, like on a guy trying to score from second, he's coming. Now they're not supposed to do that. It's not supposed to be used for that, but there could be those kind of communications going on. Or go talk to the pitcher, or just anything they could relay in real quick.
Here's a payoff to Braswell in a 1-run game. And time granted. Braswell struck out swinging his first time up. You know, a comp to that would be the coach-to-player communication in college football, which was new last year, and the coach is really complimentary of how that helped offensive coordinator or head coach to quarterback. But it shuts off at a certain point of the play clock. So Lane Kiffin can't say to Jackson Dart, you know, once the play starts, hey, go here with it.
Right, or you got a blitz coming from the right side or whatever.
Backhanded pickup, LeBron sidearm, and off the glove of Hodo. LSU's got 2 on with 2 out.
Well, the play wasn't made, but we've been waiting for a defensive play by Justin LeBron. I tell you what, this was impressive right here. Tough pick for Will Hodo over at first base. But LeBron, you talk about all the range, the arm strength, everything that he brings to the table on both sides of the ball. Here's a really good look at his athleticism. Backhand side right there, momentum taking him toward the line. He just rips it in his own line.
Like a Dan Marino release. How quick was that?
That was quick and it was accurate too. A little bit low, but perfectly on line.
Here's Luis Hernandez. It's the first 2-out hit for the Tigers tonight. And the first pitch low to Hernandez.
Well, these are the positions that LSU really struggled last weekend against Auburn. 4 for 27 with runners in scoring position.
In for a strike, 1-1. Hernandez, the 8-hole hitter, struck out his first time up. 7 strikeouts for the LSU batting order tonight. This one out of play to the right side.
So LSU 1 for 5 so far tonight, runners in scoring position.
Strikes out 2 in the 4th.
Ball crew did not think much of Mike Bianco and Ole Miss this year. Projected them to finish 14th in the SEC, and yet Ole Miss is having a much better year than that. Of course, they missed on Texas A&M. Everybody missed on A&M, although A&M is starting to show a little bit of a life after winning their last 2 SEC series.
Yep, they've won 7 in a row now. Yeah. And Aggies have the lead at Arkansas in the 3rd inning, 4-2 tonight for Heiberger. And the point of knowing the value of wins and knowing how to manage a weekend, they went 2+ seasons without losing an ACC series. Now, Maryland was on a good run, but they weren't always the best team in the ACC. They weren't always the best, most talented team on any given weekend. But the value of winning 2 out of 3 versus losing a series or even being swept is
no doubt. But that's Rob Vaughn. I mean, he told us, he played some ball himself, and that's what he was a grinder. And I think that's the kind of kids that he goes out and recruits, the hard-nosed kids that have some talent. And, of course, he's got Justin LeBron, one of the best in the country. But past that, he just got a lot of hard-nosed kids that don't have any scar tissue. They're able to flush bad days, bad series, and then come back and lace them up and get right back after you the next day. And that's kind of how he's won. That's kind of how he operates.
Yeah, he said, this is a team that has the winning and toughness gene fouled off. You mentioned this earlier. Bama won 22 of its first 23 games. And in addition to that, Rob Vaughn's squad is undefeated in the midweek, 11-0. 2 40-win seasons as the head coach of the Terrapins, 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments. Came to Bama last year, got 13 wins in the league. Won the series against LSU, won a series against both Tennessee and Arkansas. Miss low, 2-2. And this one's ripped foul. I didn't ask Rob about this. I should tomorrow, but I was going back into his background when he was playing at Kansas State. They pulled off a sweep at Nebraska. That was the first ever at Nebraska's beautiful ballpark, Haymarket Park. And in the midst of that sweep, Rob Vaughn got ejected for fighting. You think that was a hard-nosed series? Full count. I want to get to the bottom of that one. (3-2) Poked foul. Ethan Fry 0 for 2, couple of strikeouts.
Yeah, pretty good at bat going here. Out in front of an all-speed pitch down the left field line, and a little tardy on a fastball down the right field line.
With the 9th pitch of the at-bat. And he coaches a walk. It's the first walk of the night collected by LSU. And that goes against 10 strikeouts.
And what you don't want to do is walk a guy before Jerry Jones steps in the box.
Great plate appearance from Ethan Fry. He was down in the count 0-2.
Alabama's got a right-hander loose in the bullpen. It looks like Rob Bourne's going to let his left-hander Heiberger face Jerry Jones.
Letter high, 1-0. You wouldn't pitch around Jones with 2 outs.
I wouldn't think so.
Pulled to third. Booted by Torres. Jones is safe. And LSU trying to piece something together with 2 outs here in the 5th.
Really good pitch by Matthew Heiberger. Took a little bit off on a changeup and got Jared Jones hit it right off the end of the bat. Just a routine ground ball down to third base, but Torres ball hits right in the heel of his glove. Head was down. He did everything right, but the ball hopped up on him and hits in the heel. So an opportunity for LSU.
He's had a hit in 14 of his last 16 games. Misses low, 1-0.
Roger Dickinson here, 2-0 count, runners on first and second, 2 out, and a guy that throws a high percentage of fastballs. No need to be late here. Get the head out and go get it.
Check swing for his strike, 2-1.
Only 1 walk and 10 strikeouts.
First pitch breaking ball in for his strike to Brennan Norton. The 9-hole hitter is 0 for 1 with a ground out to short. Liam Doyle of Tennessee came in leading the SEC in Ks with 95. 0-2.
Very, very happy with that swing. That nice flat swing through the zone.
Fowler's got 11 bags on the year. They'll keep him close with Justin LeBron at the plate. Justin LeBron was already committed when the majority of this coaching staff got to Tuscaloosa. Said they weren't really worried about him heading to a different school. They were worried about him going in the draft. Had a great visit with his mom. Said she was really into it. They thought as a staff the draft was a real possibility. Field, Curiel will set up a tent underneath this one. That was a rainmaker, 2 down. I thought it was interesting going back to the recruiting pitch. He said, you know, in years past I've gone in with a big binder saying, here's all the reasons college is better than going pro right now. Here's how it will benefit you not only in your career but in your life. He said, we went in to close the deal on LeBron, and I made it about who I am and who we are as a staff as Nate Yeskie shuffles to them out.
Yeah, and now they're going to have to deal with the NIL potentially for LeBron. I know he loves Alabama, but he's a kid that's going to get a lot of money obviously thrown at him this offseason. Now, he loves Alabama, and all indications are he is going to stay there, but he will be tempted, I'm sure, like anybody would be, at the potential money to get him to transfer.
You know, here's my approach on that. He will likely be, I shouldn't say likely, but he has a chance to be the #1 overall pick in next year's draft. That brings with it automatically a huge payday.
Yeah.
So let's say, it's kind of like the quarterback situation at Tennessee. Let's say the difference between staying or going is another couple $100,000, maybe a half million.
What if it gets to $500,000?
Okay, but how much are you going? What difference does $500,000 make to a guy who's about to sign for $18 million?
That's true. But at the end of the day, 500 is 500. You know what I'm saying? I know what you're saying, because I mean, if he is the #1 pick, what is it going to be, about $10 million next year in the draft?
I think it's higher than that.
Yeah, it might be higher than that. It goes up every year, but still.
I guess my point is, if you don't mess with Happy.
Yeah.
And you don't mess with Happy for pennies on the dollar when you are that close to filling as many banks as you possibly could.
And honestly, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's happy where he is. That's where he wanted to play. That's why he originally signed with Alabama. So I don't think he's. But I could see some teams going in there and making him some crazy offers.
Oh, they're going to. There'll be some pitches. There's no doubt about it. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Came in leading the nation in RBI. Number 1 overall pick this year is slotted at $10.5 million. That's the highest ever. Year prior, Pirates' number 1 choice, we know who they took, was $9.7. Now that is the assigned value.
Right.
And this year that rose by nearly 9% from last year to this year. And unless there's a tariff that I'm aware of, or the economy gets even worse, you would assume that's going to go up again.
Yes. It's going up every year. So you're talking about around $11 million is what you're talking about. Boy, that is impressive right there. First home run he hit.
Hodo to the plate. LSU is just starting to get some action in its bullpen, but nobody's on the rubber just yet. 1-0 to Hodo. Man, oh man, what a message Alabama would send with the win at the box tonight. LSU coming off of a sweep at the hands of surprising Auburn last week. Alabama has lost its last 2 SEC series. Alabama has only hosted in the postseason twice in the last quarter century.
Man, that is hard to believe. The last quarter century.
Yeah. Hodo has struck out a couple of times tonight. Fouls one back. You remember his brother Douglas played at Texas.
Yep.
Will played at Wayne Academy, Waynesboro, Mississippi. 5 years varsity, won a state championship 3 times. And opposite field shot. This one will be scooped up by Stanfield. Hodo headed to second on his horse, and that is a stand-up double. 3 straight extra base hits, and 4 out of the last 5 tied hitters have reached, starting with Fowler's 1-out single.
Yeah, and all the noise with 2 out, too. There's a runner at first base and 2 out, and you get back-to-back homers, and now a double.
6 hits for the Tide tonight. 5 of them have gone for extra bases. Here's Jason Torres. Struck out swinging, and he struck out looking. Torres got off to a sizzling start, including 3-game home run streak against North Dakota State. And a pair of 2-run home runs against Presbyterian. He reached base safely in each of the first 19 games of the year. Anderson might be buying time for the pen here. Another throw to second.
Yeah, look like Jacob Myers, a right-hander, getting loose for LSU. And another right-hander, Connor Binge, starting to play a little catch as well.
That's Myers on the left. And Binge on the right. And a visit from Luis Hernandez. Jay Johnson has not left his perch in the LSU dugout just yet. I think he's waiting for word from the pen. Next guy's ready.
How about that line? 5 2/3, 6 hits, 5 runs, no walks, and 10 strikeouts.
Torres stands back in, and here comes Jay Johnson. Things got sideways on Cade Anderson here in the 6th inning. He started the inning with his 10th strikeout of the game, and then single, high, loud fly out, home run, double. And here's Jason Torres. Cade Anderson didn't throw him a pitch. He just had about 5 pickoff attempts to second, and the first pitch is spiked at 97. How do you create that much backspin?
You can't. It's just natural the way the ball comes out of hand. Now you can get the ball as far out on your fingertips as you can, and the further you get the ball out on your fingertips, you can create more spin. But there's different kind of spin, right? I mean, there's spin that sideways spin, like on a clock. If you think about a clock, there's 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock spin. So that's how the average ball spins. He is right over the top, so he's got that true spin where he's spinning at 12 to 6, and that's what creates that ride and that carry through the zone. And when you talk about release height, he's well over 7 feet on release height. That is way above most. So it's coming from right over the top. Now he'll do that every now and then and break off a little bit of a slider at 88. For the most part, he's going to live with that really, really good fastball of his.
I think a high spin rate fastballs. Justin Verlander comes to mind.
Verlander, Cole.
Yep.
And, you know, the sticky stuff is out of the college game now. And there was a time where, you know, pitchers at the MLB level and in the college game were probably using some sticky stuff. Everybody knew. Everybody was using the spider tack. And spin rates were way up. But now in the college game, you're getting checked as you come in. So these are legit spin rates. And anybody that can spin a ball like he can, it is off the charts. And while he's not going to pitch a ton for LSU, but he will have some big moments, somebody's going to draft this kid early in the draft just because of the analytical world that we live in now. Because they're going to figure, well, we'll teach him how to throw strikes and be a little bit more consistent. But what you can't teach is 98, and you can't teach that kind of spin rate.
Full count with a runner at second. Myers led the Southland Conference last year with 106 strikeouts.
How many walks?
Efforting.
We'll get the interns.
23 at Nichols. Here's the payoff. It's like having royalty.
I'm telling you.
First pitch line foul off the bat of Stephen Milam. 0-1 to Milam, who is 0 for 2 tonight with a ground out and a fly out. Yeah, it'd be interesting, the new format.
Yeah, that is.
It had been double elimination until the weekend outside of the first day with single elimination. And I really like the idea that you could build suspense and build crowds. And here's another aspect of it. Now, if you're a top 4 seed, you don't have to play until Friday.
But even if you're a top 4 seed and you play Friday, you lose once, you're still gone.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Now, I'm sure coaches like the fact that if you're a top 4 seed, at most, it's another 3-game series. Right? So your pitching can be lined up just as normal. Milam touches this one to deep center, but not enough to leave the park. Then there's one down with Jake Brown coming. So, how many times have we seen? That's great, and it allows you to keep all of your arms fresh, and you go into the postseason full strength, theoretically. I think of Todd Peterson getting a chance to bat. I think about some of these Florida midweek pitchers who barely threw during the season, and they got a chance on a big stage to come out and increase their draft stock by just one appearance against all of the scouts that show up.
Sure.
It certainly makes it easier, but I feel like it's a little bit less romantic that you're not going to go really deep into the bullpen, especially if you're a top 4 seed.
Yeah. I mean, the SEC tournament, when you make a deep run, you got to have depth, obviously, in your pitching staff. Because typically, especially if you're a team that didn't get a top 4 seed at the time, you're normally starting a guy that's been a midweek guy, or maybe a guy until you can roll back into your dudes, right? And so it always brought different kind of challenges. What's interesting for me, are the fan bases going to travel knowing potentially just one game? Are they going to travel? And that's going to be, we'll have to wait and see how that happens, because we know the fan bases typically show up, especially when you know your team makes it to day 2, you're going to get 2 games at least, and fans show up. And so are they going to show up knowing that if you lose once, you're going back home?
My guess is the RV lot's already sold out. Probably sold out the day after last year's tournament.
Probably.
But let me ask you this. Do you think all teams should qualify? And what I'm asking is, if you have teams in the bottom of the standings that really have as long a shot as any you'd have to win Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You got to win 6 games to make it to the postseason. And you can look at the SEC standings, and that'll show you the teams we're talking about. Do you need to expand a tournament to include those bottom, say, 4 teams?
In my opinion, no. I mean, I'm in a world where everybody doesn't get a trophy, and being in postseason play and being in a conference tournament is an earned right to get there. In other words, you have to play well to get there. So, yeah. So I don't know if everybody should get to go. I mean, everybody doesn't get to go to the NCAA tournament. Why? Because it's performance based, and I think the SEC tournament should be the same way, or any conference tournament for that matter. But I also don't believe that one weekend of play says who the best team is. I've never agreed with that either. Anybody can have a great weekend and win their conference tournament. To me, the better teams are the teams that perform well over the course of 10 weekends and 30 games. That should be your champion, in my opinion. I get the conference tournament because, you know, you want to raise money and you want everybody to play and all that kind of stuff, so they put a big emphasis on the tournament. Whoever wins their tournament gets in. But in baseball, consistency is the name of the game. And we've seen it from time to time. Every team has a great weekend. Every team has a bad weekend. But it doesn't tell you who the best team is. But over the course of 30 games, it does tell you who the best team is.
You know, I'm guessing Maneri won it all in 09. Is that right?
I think it's right, yeah.
Was that the team that caught fire with the gold jerseys?
Late, yeah, and put on this incredible run and went through it, you know. And
so that top of mind is a team that took that momentum from Hoover and rode it all the way to Omaha.
That's right.
Diaper changing tables. And I thought he was going to talk about McDonald and Walker, and this one's lined to right field. Pearson with a pinch hit single, and LSU in business. I said, Coach, diaper changing tables? He said, I learned that if Mom and the kids can't come to the game, then you can't sell out the ballpark. If you can't sell out the ballpark, you don't have a home field advantage.
He was so far ahead of his time, thinking about things that nobody else would have thought about. He used to send us to the concession stand in midweek games and say, go tell me if the hot chocolate's hot. I want to know if the coffee's hot too. And I have to go get a cup of each to see if they're hot. Little things like that in the middle of a ball game, you know. And of course, there was a time where we used to go trade out balls. He'd make me sign a bunch of balls, and a foul ball would go into the stands before LSU was LSU. And I'd have to go up there in uniform in a midweek game and trade out somebody an old, beat-up, autographed ball for the game ball, go get it, and bring it back into play. And now they just toss them in the stands left and right.
Another pinch hitter. This is Ashton Larson with 2 on and 1 out. So he's the one that got you hooked on coffee, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, Coach, come on, I'm going to be the first pick in the draft this year. I don't want to be going in the stands. He said, just do what I tell you, McDonald. Just go get the ball back. Yes, sir. Come on now.
Back to back. But the Tide was in control. First pitch strike to Chris Stanfield. Austin Morris has faced 2 batters. He's allowed a pair of pinch hits, 1 a single and 1 a home run. 1-1 to Stanfield. Breaking ball pulled foul.
Well, if you look at the splits for Austin Morrison, and one reason why Jay Johnson went to his pitch, right-handers hitting 152 off of Morris, left-handers hitting 290 off of him.
And another lefty, Curiel on deck. Got out in front of that one. Sky to left center. Bonamolo coming in and handles it. 2 down. Left-handed specialist. In the air to center field. Bonamolo has space. And Lehman does his job. He ends the 6th inning. Bottom third of the order coming up now for Alabama. This is Garrett Staten. And he looks at the first pitch low and in. Bunch of defensive changes for LSU after those 2 pinch hitters. That includes Tanner Reeves entering the game at third base for the first time. That's in place of Braswell. And we got a new catcher. One and 2 now. And a new left fielder. Josh Pearson is in left. Curiel moves to center. Inside hit him. And so the leadoff man on for Alabama.
Just a heater working. Remember, you don't have to get out of the way of the ball. You just cannot make a move towards the ball.
Shows bunt, pushes it down to first base line. Beautiful bunt, toss over to the bag with Dickinson covering. And Neal will get credit for his sacrifice, but it was nicely played.
Yeah, beautiful bunt and just as good defensive play by LSU right there. Daniel Dickinson over at second base had to bust it to get there. He barely got there, and Jared Jones just picked it up and shoveled it over just in time.
Runner in scoring position for Brennan Norton. Breaking ball away.
This is only Alabama's second opportunity tonight with runners in scoring position. 0 for 1 so far. LSU 2 for 8.
1-0 taken for a strike. Norton homered in the midweek against UAB. Ben, you're going to love the quote that he gave after the game, because he had really been struggling. He was 0 for 19 going into that game.
Ooh.
He said hitting a baseball is hard. If you can't simplify something you're trying to do, it's going to make it harder. And his point was, hey, listen, if he throws it on the corner, so what? Tip of the cap to him. But he kept it simple and went yard against the Blazers. And that 0 for 19 since the Tennessee series, he had 7 strikeouts. High fly ball, deep right field. Brown at the track, at the wall, and he makes the catch. Moving back to second is Staten. Staten would have had a great opportunity to tag up.
Yeah, I think he misread this just a little bit. I mean, that's the idea, go halfway, right? But when you see the outfielder starting to camp under a ball and you pushed him all the way up against the wall, no reason why you can't take an extra 90 right there.
Yeah, that was either going to be a catch or a home run. You see the back of the Alabama batting helmets. They have helmet stickers. It's like you might see in football. Pitch low and away. And those stickers are not for home runs and not for strikeouts or batting average. They're doing all these little things that really add up. That's, for example, taking an extra 90 on a flyer. In for a strike, 1-1. Talking to some guys around the cage. I said, what do we get those for? And the list was as long as a CVS receipt. Foul ball, 1-2. Bama has led throughout. The third hitter of the game went yard. Tide is yet to trail, and that pitch is outside. Missed with 96.
Wow, this has been a heck of a game right here.
Two to Fowler. Low. Missed with 97, and the count is full. Left side of the infield is wide open, as it has been for the left-handed hitting Fowler. Pitch. Ball 4. A hit batter and a walk. And there's 2 aboard for the Tide with Justin LeBron coming to the plate. LeBron came into this series on a tear. Last 5 games, 10 for 22 with a couple of home runs. He's top 10 in the country in home runs. He's tied for the national lead in RBI. Pitching coach Nate Yeske heads to the mound. He has a flair for the dramatic. LeBron came to the plate in the 6th. Sitting on 15 home runs in this one.
Yeah, you talk about just missing one. Just got underneath that one. If he hits just a quarter inch more up on that ball, it is clearly in the seats, but pushes Curiel all the way back to the track. And I think LSU is going to pitch to him. And we talked about it early on. Cade Snell had to be big tonight, because if he wasn't going to be big tonight, LSU was not going to pitch to LeBron. Well, Cade Snell's answered the bell with 2 home runs.
A couple of finals in the SEC tonight. South Carolina sends Ole Miss to its 2nd consecutive loss. Now, Ole Miss lost its midweek, a day game, a couple days ago, and Gamecocks got them tonight for just their 2nd conference win. And Vandy won at home in a top 20 showdown against number 5 Georgia, 3-1.
This is going to be power on power here.
1-0.
How about that number right there? 5-10 with runners in scoring position for LeBron this year. Unheard of.
2-0. .95.
Went right after him in a 2-0 count.
Throw another fastball here.
Evans has a really good changeup, and he's shown at times this year he can land it just about in any situation. He's going with straight heat right now.
All right.
And
you challenge him twice. You do it a 3rd time?
If I do it, I'm going to challenge him up in the zone. Plus heater, I'm going to the top shelf if I do.
Advance. Staten to 3rd and Fowler to 2nd on the wild pitch.
That looked like a slider. Nowhere near where Evans was trying to throw that one. Just over cranked it. Nowhere near the strike zone. And I don't care if you're on 1 knee in that situation or 2 knees. You're not blocking that one.
Hasn't allowed a run in his last 3 games. Payoff pitch to Justin LeBron.
Tommy, that reliever of the night, J.T. Blackwood, the right-hander.
And the first pitch to Ethan Fry is fouled. I want to go back To your point, that catch not made up against the screen looked like it caught the netting on its way down. You didn't think that was a strike?
No, I thought the ball was low. 100% thought the ball was low. There's been a couple of balls on each side called a little bit low, but that was a huge moment, obviously, in the ball game.
Fry is 0 for 2. There's Rob Vaughn still in the game. Pitches inside, 1-1. (5-4) Alabama lead. Fastball for a strike.
Yeah, there's some talk that the challenge system may come to college baseball. MLB is thinking about putting in. They had it in for spring training. The challenge system where you get 2 challenges on balls and strikes. It takes about 5 seconds, and you get 2 of them per game. So I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Well, that's with the Hawkeye technology?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every play, and they get their height, and then the strike zone is according to their height. Got a box up there, and the catcher, the pitcher, or the hitter automatically taps his helmet as soon as the ball goes to the plate, whether they want to challenge it or not. And you get 2 of them, and it's very quick. It worked very quick in spring training. So I wouldn't mind a couple of chances every game if you want to, in big moments like that. If you want to challenge a pitch, I think it'd be a good idea.
Jared Jones is 0 for 3. He homered in the midweek, and he slices this one into the seats on the right side.
You can't go to, you can't look at the monitor. You can't do any of those kind of things. It has to be within 2 or 3 seconds. You got to tap your helmet to challenge it.
Here's one area that I think the departure would come between professional ranks of challenging and the college ranks, specifically Major League Baseball versus college, and that is knowledge of the strike zone.
Yeah.
We saw Paul Skeens, I think it was last year, when he was at AAA, he challenged him. He caught the strike zone by a stitch, and he knew that it was a strike. Paul Skeens is advanced.
Right.
He knows what the strike zone looks like. You get a freshman out there who's playing in his first game, and next thing you know, you're out of challenges. So maybe it would just need a little tweaking.
Yeah.
It'd have to come from the dugout.
And a little coaching, to say, okay, we're only going to do this in huge moments. In other words, nobody out. 2 out, nobody on base, and it's a marginal pitch. Don't use your challenge on that unless it's the 9th inning and you're down, right? But in big moments like that, you'd have to coach them up to be able to use it.
I wouldn't let anybody use it but a senior. That's my rule.
Or know somebody that has a great understanding of the strike zone, right?
1-2 to Jones. Upstairs, 2-2. Yeah.
But I think it's something worth discussing, something worth talking about in big moments to be able to go to that. Yeah, I think MLB is going to put it in play next year. I really do. They're going to use it in regular ball games just because of the way it went in spring training.
Big opportunity for Jared Jones, 3-hole hitter for LSU. And he caught just a slice of the leather that time and stays alive. Jared Jones sitting on 12 home runs, tied for 7th most in the SEC this year. He had a huge power season last year, 28 bombs, 4th most in LSU single season history, the most since Matt Clark, 2008, hit 28. From the stretch to 2-2. And it's inside. Be at least an 8-pitch at bat for Jared Jones. Line drive into the left field corner, but foul and into the netting.
Yeah, Blackwood took a little bit off that one. How about that? A little change up on a 3-2 count with nobody out and a runner at first.
Blackwood has 6 starts under his belt, all in the non-conference. 2 on for LSU. Nobody out in the 7th.
How do you take that pitch? That is so close. Could have been called a strike and wasn't, but look where this ball is. I mean, maybe an inch off the outside part.
And it brings Daniel Dickinson up. And another visit to the mound. There is action in the Alabama bullpen. Jason Jackson is the pitching coach for the Tide. Blackwood is faced 2. He's allowed both the reach. Braylon Myers is getting loose in the Alabama pen. Sticking with Blackwood. LSU's got the 2nd longest home win streak in the country. The Tigers have yet to lead tonight. All of the Alabama fielders are holding their gloves to their left ear so they can hear the pitch comm.
Yeah, you would think this is a bunt situation, and you would think Dixon's going to put the ball on the ground right here.
Corners are in. And to third, it's foul. Talking with Rob Vaughn this week. The bunt defense is one of the very specific reasons that all these fielders have pitch comm in their hats. They can put the bunt defense into everybody around the infield.
How did we ever survive 100-something years of baseball without a pitch comm system?
Well, the catcher would stand out in front of the plate. He'd run through about 17 different signs. We'd be sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting, and now we're waiting for the electronic.
We would just go bunt play 1, bunt play 2, wheel play, pick off at 2nd.
Foul at 3rd, 0-2. LSU was 4 for 27 with runners in scoring position over the Auburn series last week. Got swept for the first time since Ben McDonald was a sophomore, and Hall of Famer Frank Thomas was playing first base for the Tigers.
Yeah, Auburn had some pretty good players then. They had Greg Olson and Frank Thomas. They were pretty good.
Let's see Greg. Breaking ball flipped foul.
I think Auburn came to Baton Rouge and swept us that weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I think Greg Olson had 2 saves and a win in 3 games out of the bullpen.
Wow. Dickinson singled to start the 4th. He can play hero here for LSU. Whoop, been in. He put up video game numbers at Utah Valley before coming here. 1-2. .363 last year with 18 home runs and 32 bags. He was a Dick Hauser semifinalist as a college player of the year. Set the school record for stolen bases, the single season record for home runs. Neal. Fry goes to 3rd. Jones follows him to 2nd on the wild pitch.
This is what I'm talking about in big moments and being on one knee. You just see where Brady Neal is right there. You're just going to challenge yourself even more to try to block balls. I promise you, if he's on 2 knees or regular traditional catcher stance, he blocks the ball, keeps it in front, but instead you got 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. And that's why I'm not a fan of the one knee.
Reached for and pulled foul. And it's, to your point, it's the lateral movement of the catcher swaying left and right or hopping out to the right side to put the chest in front of it.
I mean, the big league guys are better. They're the best catchers in the world. Some of those guys are a lot better. But when you talk about an 18 to 22-year-old kid catching, you can't tell me that's more consistent than being in a traditional stance. Now, we'll see if Brady Neal's going to do it with a runner at 3rd base as well. Yep, he's going right back down there again.
Popped him up, foul territory. Torres drifts towards the dugout, has space, and he goes into the netting after making the catch for the first out.
And a huge first out right there.
18 inches high. It's not conducive to keeping your feet underneath. So here's Stephen Milam looking for his first hit of the game.
Yeah, now how's Alabama going to play this? But like the corner guys are going to be kind of even with the bag. The middle guys are going to play back, which means if Milam just hits a routine hopper up the middle to one of the middle infielders, we got a tie ball game.
Milam has put the ball in play in the air the last 2 times up. This is an LSU team that is second in the SEC with 22 sac flies. (1-0) to Milam. Only 1 out here in the 7th. Alabama has not been a great late game come from behind team. Tide are just 1-6 when trailing after 7 innings this season. Now think of the impact on that strike 3 call of Justin LeBron in the 7th inning. An ejection followed. The crowd got riled up. And LSU has ridden that wave. Pitch clock takes it to 1-0. The first lead of the game for the Tigers. Josh Pearson looks at a pitch low. Five home runs in his 5th.
Snell right here and fires it home, but not in time.
Talk about knowing your base runners, huh?
Yeah, it's just
that
a
was
plus play.
Shallow left. Really shallow.
Well, you talk about speed. Jake Brown probably has the most speed on this LSU team, and Josh Jordan, the third base coach, took a chance, and it paid off.
Connor Ball will enter, but let's take a look back at where all the drama
said about this.
Well, Darren Hyman said, "What did you say?" And he got the direct answer from Mike Morrison. That got him tossed. Connor Ball, lefty, enters now to face Tanner Reeves, who get his first plate appearance of the game.
Yeah, Ball making his 11th appearance of the year. ERA elevated. He's only worked 4 1/3 this year, giving up 8 hits, struck out 5, and has walked 1 so far.
It should be noted that momentum was already swinging LSU's way with the 3-run 6th before that ejection in the top of the 7th. But it just continues. And you've seen a lot of games in this ballpark. That's the kind of thing that could happen in this stadium, especially when you're riding the second longest win streak in the country.
Well, when this crowd gets riled up, and they love their baseball here in Baton Rouge like they do in a lot of places around the SEC, and this crowd starts to get into it, and the players feed off of that. They feed off of the energy, because LSU has done it so many times here at home.
23-1 at home overall, a 16-game win streak in this ballpark. And a lost lead of 6-1. LSU has 4 comeback wins when trailing after 3+.
Well, the pitching has been really good. I mean, if you look at the pitching numbers for LSU this year, they have the lowest ERA as a team right now since 2015. That's how good this staff has been.
The bullpen especially has been dominant. 1 earned run in 12 2/3 against Auburn last week, despite the series loss.
Yeah, and despite not having Gavin Guidry, who's their stopper on the stopper award-winning list, hadn't pitched an inning and had season-ending back surgery just the other day, and that's a big miss for LSU at the back end of a bullpen.
Yeah, ruled out for the season this week. The surgery was today. That one caught Brady Neal, and he's going to need some time.
Get him in the throat. Is that where it got him? Oh, yeah, it comes up and gets right underneath the mask. Gosh.
Sean Stryker's the athletic trainer for Alabama.
That's a tough kid right there. We saw him here at LSU for 2 years, and you talk about tough as nails.
Nothing in 2 to Tanner Reeves. One start in the Auburn series. Reeves had a 1 for 4 performance. First team junior college All-America at Blinn in Texas. Led them to their first ever national championship. Balls and 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. And Connor Ball retires the first batter that he faces. Kader Mbidi will get his first trip to the plate. Swing and a miss on the first to Aaron Beatty. Just 2 for 11 against lefties this year. 235 average overall. Runner on the move. Pitch is low and away. The throw is wide. It didn't come off the bag. A stolen base for Pearson. Run. LSU lead after we go to the 8th.
And you're going on first move, first twitch you see off and moving.
Right now.
Brady Neal comes out there, a really good throw, but not in time. Boy, Pearson somehow hangs on to the bag.
Sky high to left. Snell hauls it in. A 3-run 6. Baudemolo and Hodo, 3, 4, and 5 due up. First pitch 96 and a strike from Kason Evans. Evans entered with the runner on in the 7th. Sack, bunt, fly out, walk, and then the controversial strikeout of LeBron. Into the shift, and from shallow right, Dickinson. 1 down. How much easier is it, or what difference does it make for a reliever to start an inning clean versus coming in with a guy on, besides the obvious?
I think it's just the pressure. There's always pressure, and there's really not anything called a no leverage situation. Maybe it's a little bit lower leverage situation than coming in with runners on base. The thing is, you have a little bit of room for error with nobody on, right? You come in with bases loaded, runners on second and third. You have to be sharp, and that's what I've always admired about relievers. Because starters, we have a chance to kind of work into the game and kind of feel what's going on. But man, when relievers come in big moments, they have to be on point from the beginning.
Richie Bonamolo looks at a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Hit a curveball out of the ballpark for his 5th home run of the season last time up. That one tails inside, 1-1. First of 3. Line drive past the diving Mileman into left field. 2-hit night, Bonamolo.
Yeah, Bonamolo, and I tell you what, Cade Snell, they have hit it on the button just about every time up tonight. This was an Alabama team that was struggling scoring runs in conference play. They were 14th out of 16 teams in conference play when it comes to runs per game. But they have swung it well tonight.
Hodo doubled his last time up. Got him off the schneid after a couple of strikeouts. Tying run on deck for Bama. Pitch is low. Felt like Bama was playing with house money as the tie got out to a 5-1 lead, especially considering they gave Tyler Fay just his 2nd career start tonight. Things unraveled in the bottom of the 6th.
That's one thing about the college game. You got to keep your foot on the gas pedal because it feels like no lead is safe.
Yeah. I feel like power numbers are down this year.
I don't know what the exact numbers are. I mean, I look at the batting average. We talked about that. The average SEC hitters hitting 307 with a 950 OPS.
I mean, that is ridiculous.
So those numbers aren't down, I don't think, from last year. But maybe the homers. But look, the weather could have a little bit to do with that. I mean, it's been cold, a little bit cooler than usual. You know, winds blowing in at a lot of ballparks versus the wind blowing out at times. So that might have had something to do with it. But if you look at the exit velocities that we're seeing, I don't think the numbers are down that much.
Tap to the right side. Dickinson only plays to first. Are you an almanac kind of guy? Farmer's Almanac? You feel like maybe you flipped through one of those in the past?
I have. I keep up with the weather a little bit in the moon phases.
The moon phase?
During hunt season.
We just had a full moon.
Yeah, we had a different, I think so, a different kind of moon too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually the same moon. Right?
Same moon.
That'd be breaking news. If brought in
I had a buddy
moon.
of mine many years ago. His dad was out. We were out riding around drinking a little beer and riding 4-wheelers one night. And he looked up at the sky. He said, "Boys, we're an hour and a half away at the farm." He goes, "They ain't got stars like this at home." I said, "Mr. Bobby," I said, "same stars, and we only live 60 miles from here." He said, "No, son, it's different stars here." Same moon.
The late great Mike Shannon, who played for the Cardinals and broadcast their games for many years, calling a game at Shea Stadium one summer, and he said, "The folks listen on the radio in St. Louis. Well, this moon is beautiful tonight. I wish you folks in St. Louis could see it." 1-2 now on the pitch low.
Oh my gosh.
The animals like the full moon? They come out because it's brighter?
Well, everything is different on the full moon. I once read an article, more murders happen on the full moon, more babies are conceived on a full moon. The deer move a little bit differently on a full moon. So the moon affects.
Ball in the 7th. And the fastball misses inside from Connor Ball. So you were saying that a lot of things are different when there's a full moon. The way the animals react, the way humans react. Are you different when the moon is full?
Not that I'm aware of.
Maybe we
others may say, others may, you better ask my wife on that one, but better stop there. Not that I'm aware of, but I do keep up with it. What we got going on now?
Rob Vaughn is pointing out to the outfield. I think something came over the outfield fence again. Oh, the gate is open. The door is ajar. Don't use ajar enough. 2-1. Are you different when there's an eclipse out?
No.
You ever go out and look at those?
Yeah.
You put the pin prick in the paper?
Yeah, that, or you get those little weird glasses or whatever.
Yeah.
Or a welding mask, whatever you want to put on. I've used that before, too.
Have you?
Yeah.
Or just look at it. You know, what's the worst could happen?
You'll find out pretty quick. You won't be able to see for about 30 minutes.
Line drive into center field, and Derek Curiel's got a 3-hit night. Nobody out and nobody on. In the bottom of the 8th, step away for this pitching change. Back in a moment.
Just sneak over the wall. They got out there pretty good.
Then it trailed 5-1, 9 unanswered for the Tigers. And it looks like that will be the end of the line for Connor Ball.
1 pitches. So if you take him out right now, he probably would be available for the Saturday game for sure. But if he gets up to 45 or 50 pitches, then you might lose him for the weekend.
There's Jared Jones. Shift on for big right-hander. Misses low, 1-0. LSU's gymnastics season comes to an end tonight. In the semifinals, Oklahoma, Missouri, Utah, and UCLA move on to the Final Four of the Women's Gymnastics Championship. Swing and a miss. Gymnastics National Championship. We're on ABC on Saturday.
How about that?
Jared Jones 0 for 3 tonight. Drew a walk and scored a run his last time up. What was the difference in this LSU offense 6th inning on versus the first 5?
I think they got some pitches to handle, and they just didn't miss them. You know, I don't know. I don't think the concentration was any more for LSU, but they got some good swings off on some balls that were left up out over the plate. And there were some walks in there, some hit by pitches. They took advantage of that, but that's what LSU's kind of done all year long. They don't strike out a ton, although they have tonight a few more strikeouts than usual, but typically they take a lot of pitches. They work the counts. They got a high on-base percentage. And occasionally will blow a ball out of the ballpark, and that's kind of what they've done tonight.
Upstairs, full count. Texas A&M knocked off Arkansas tonight.
Aggies.
Weston Moss was fantastic out of the bullpen. Jace Laviolette homered again. That's 8 straight wins since they got shut out, no hit, and run ruled at Tennessee.
Wow.
3-2 to Jones. That lip sweater is looking fantastic. Are we sure that Jared Jones isn't a Canadian hockey player with what he's got going up there? I mean, I know he goes by Bear and his brother is Moose, but that's
a dude that fills up the batter's box. I'm just going to say it like that.
6'4", 253.
Came to LSU as a catcher 3 years ago, and a lot of people thought he was going to leave. He was a draftable sophomore last year, but decided to come back to LSU after hitting 28 homers.
First pitch strike to Dickinson. Still nobody out here in the 8th. Think he's going to run? What are things that are more likely than him?
I mean, he does have 4 stolen bases on the year, so it's not like he will never run. But let's put it like that: with the lead he's got right now, if he were to dive back, he would land in the first base coaching box. That's how far he is off the bag.
We talked about moons. How often does a blue moon come around?
Once in a blue moon. Well, you asked.
I thought you'd be more specific than that.
I don't know. What was the moon the other day? It was like a red?
Pink.
A pink moon.
Pink moon, yeah.
What causes the moon to look? The moon's not really pink, so what causes it to look pink?
In this scenario, I don't know. That's where it is in the horizon.
Gases or something in the I don't know. In space, I don't know.
Well, there are times, right, when there's big wildfires that it could have a different look to it. But this is something that occurs every few months, this pink moon. A blue moon comes around once every 33 months.
How about the super moon? How often does the super
I don't
moon
know, but
come
that
around?
thing's awesome. It looks like you're in a Hollywood movie when you see that thing at the end of the cul-de-sac. Line drive to right, and second hit for Dickinson. Supermoons occur more often than blue moons.
Is that right?
Yeah, 3 or 4 times a year. That's when the moon is at a stage where it's closest to Earth.
The super
based on the orbit.
So it looks a little bit bigger, a little bit brighter, I would assume. That's when you don't need a flashlight before daylight going to your tree stand or your duck blind. The moon's bright enough, it's like a flashlight.
What's your favorite moon?
I don't really know the waning and waxing or whatever it's called, but I like waning and waning and whatever it is. I don't understand that, but I just like a little bit of a quarter moon. That's all I like.
Oh, you like that little sliver?
The little sliver. That's all. That's all I like. Maybe somebody says it's the crescent moon, maybe.
Oh, sure.
I call it a quarter moon.
Chance for 2. Norton to LeBron. Had to wait for it and didn't have a play at first.
Yeah, Norton had a little bit of trouble getting the ball out of his glove. I don't think it would have mattered because Milan can flat out get down the line. The ball just was not hit hard enough. So LeBron fakes the first, checks the runner at third base.
That'll bring Jake Brown to the plate. Tonight's moon is a waning gibbous. You're coming off the full moon, now it's waning.
Waning Gibbons?
Gibbous.
Gibbous? Sounds like somebody's name to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a guy that played for the Red Stockings back in the 1870s. RBI for Jake Brown.
Jay Johnson looking for a little bit of insurance here.
There's Josh Pearson. He's got a couple of hits since he entered the game. Oh, behind him with the breaking ball.
Well, this is when the game changed for me back in the 6th inning when Jay Johnson went to his bench.
3 more. 10 unanswered. Last chance for the tie, down 6.
And then he goes to his bench again and he gets Larson, who doesn't have many at-bats at all this year, and he hits a 3-run homer. That's when the momentum in the game started to change.
2-0. Pearson into the shift in Norton. And Alabama gets off the field, but not before they allow 3 more. 10 unanswered. Last chance for the
Baker's dozen, 13. Yeah.
Swing and a miss on the first pitch to Garrett Staten. Who does that? Like if I went to Dunkin' Donuts and said, give me a dozen donuts, they're going to give me 13?
They will. Not every time. It's happened at Krispy Kreme before.
You think?
Gave me 13 one time. I ordered a dozen glazed and I got 13.
Where did they put the 13th?
I threw it out the window because 13's unlucky.
Maybe they were trying to curse you.
I looked in the box. I said, no, I wanted 12.
Yeah, but
I
there's
don't like
only
13.
room for 12 in the box. They
had stuffed one in between, like a little smaller one right in between my dozen. So I just picked it out and fired it out the window, let the birds eat that one. I was like, I'm not taking it. I don't want unlucky 13 in my box.
They should call it a bird's dozen. One for the birds. Staten pops out. That'll bring Brady Neal back to the plate. Great visit with Brady around the cage today. You can tell that a little gleam in his eye being back in Baton Rouge, where he played here for a couple of years. And talked about the family that lived down the street. The young girl had baked some cookies for him. We're going to have those after the game tonight. He got off to a great start with an opposite field home run, just his second home run of the season. And before he hits, they're going to take a visit to see Casey Evans. There is action in the LSU bullpen.
Yeah, I really thought Jay Johnson might take Evans out of the ball game just so he could use him one more time. And somebody is quickly getting heated up down there.
Microwave quick and ready to go. So 35 must be the magic number then for Casey Evans.
Yeah. Boom.
August, you'll have a full sturgeon moon, and this should be your favorite. October is a great time of year for you.
Harvest moon,
hunter's moon.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. Doesn't that make it easier for them to see you? Let's say you're out hunting wild boar in the middle of the night, right? That's something you would hunt at night, right?
Yeah. The wild boar don't see real good though.
They don't?
But he smells very good. So you got to approach him from downwind.
Wait, he smells good, like he's got a good
no,
nose?
He's good. Yeah, he.
Because I would imagine they smell like, you know.
Oh yeah,
no
they don't smell great, but they smell you.
They don't. They don't use soap.
No, they don't take many baths. Yeah, I think it's even legal to hunt hogs at night now, because they're considered a nuisance.
Yeah, they'll tear everything up, won't they?
Yeah, and you up too.
I saw some video just last week. What I find fascinating is the technology, right?
Right.
And you can have that infrared scope, and you can
night vision equipment.
Record that to video, and
you can do all
send that to all your buddies. Oh. Brady Neal plunked. He is going to need an ice bath tonight. Took a foul ball off the throat when he was behind the plate, and he takes that one back at the shoulder. Here's Brandon Norton. Off the knuckles. Brandon Norton attended Coleman High School in Alabama. It's the same high school that our friend Josh Rutledge went to. Former Alabama middle infielder. Played in the big leagues for a handful of teams. Proud father of 2 and the husband of Laura Rutledge. Inside with that pitch. Upstairs. He and Ross Wilson were the double play duo for Alabama. Back in the early 2000s. They hosted a regional, I think, in 09. Would have been Josh's 06, I'm being told. Three one. Runs inside on him. That's ball 4. Hit batter and a walk, and now we can see why Benj wasn't asked to start tonight. You said walks been an issue for him.
It's not about the stuff. I mean, he's got big time stuff. The question is, can he get it over the white part of the plate?
06, that was right. 3 times Alabama has hosted since 99. 99, 06, and 23. Here's Bryce Fowler. Fouls went off. Speaking of Fowler, did you see where Lee Corso has announced he's hanging it up? He's got one more college game day to go. He'll be there for opening weekend. Put the mascot hat on for the last time.
Wow.
Well, for the last time on television. For all we know, he does it at his home in Florida all the time.
I didn't hear that. Good for him. He's put in his time.
Made. How many times did he put the helmet on, the mascot? 430.
430? So he only does how many games a year? And so how many years did he do that then? Was it about 12 games a year he does it?
No, you got the play.
So about 16
a year, give or take.
That's a lot of years.
That's a lot of years. Here's Justin LeBron upstairs. He wore Mike the Tiger 25 times.
How many times did he get it right, though? I want to know, like, his percentage on those 400 and something times.
He was 286 and 144 all time.
That's pretty good.
In 99,
that was
he was perfect.
That was his career year.
11 and 0.
Made the All-Star team that year, finished first in the MVP voting.
There was nobody even close. Now, if they called you up, Ben McDonald, and they said, hey, we got a job for you. We want you to come to college game day. You don't have to talk. You don't have to say anything. All you got to do is stand at the end of the desk and put a mascot helmet on. Would you do it?
If I could make Lee Corso money, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would stand up there in my drawers and put it on for that kind of money.
We don't need that. We do not need that.
Make them forget all about that helmet.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, that'd be a good job.
Of the 3 schools that he picked, 2 of them from the SEC. He picked Ohio State 45 times, Bama second at 38, and LSU third at 25. Now, you know Nick Saban's on that show now. Do you think Nick Saban would be entertaining enough to put a mascot hat on?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so. He seems to be having fun doing the show when I watch him.
Yeah.
Having a good time. Less pressure. I think he may take over that job.
Bases loaded for Cade Snell, who's already homered twice. We've seen wilder things. There are 2 out here in the 9th, but if Snell... Cade Snell came to Bama from Wallace Community College after a year at Auburn. He was a 2-way player at Wallace. and in 23 was the Division I Junior College Player of the Year, 10-0 as a pitcher, and hit .393 at the plate with 13 bombs. Bama down to its last stretch. Fouled it off. 2.
6 o'clock tomorrow night, right?
Yes, 6 Central, 7 Eastern. Don't be late. Brush up on your moons.
There'll be a test later on.
20th pitch from Benj, misses outside, 2-2. Hey, Nate Yeske made a mound visit just a couple of moments ago. What makes a great mound visit?
I think if you're picking up something mechanically wrong, and when I watch Ben's throw sometimes, he gets a little bit east to west. In other words, his front shoulder, what I call your steering wheel, which is the one you have your glove on, that is your steering wheel. And every now and then, if you'll watch Ben's, he'll get east to west. He'll open up a little bit too quickly. So the message, just like he did right there. Because when you open up too quick east and west, you're going to leave the ball pretty much in one spot. Arm side high is where the ball is going to go. So that might have been the message.
Remain loaded. It's a 5-run LSU lead. Tide chipping away.
That's something that can straighten the picture out. Because pitchers, we fight two things, right? Our balance point is one of them, where the body gets out in front of the arm and you aren't synced up. The other one is east and west. Are you opening up a little bit too much?
3-2 pitch, nowhere to put him. RBI for Snell. He's got 3 of those tonight.
This mound is brought to you by Action Industries.
Richie Bonamolo will face a new LSU pitcher. Into the line for Benj. Bases remain loaded. It's a 5-run LSU lead. Tide.
And he was in the conversation to be a starter for LSU this year, but instead, Jay Johnson chose to put him in the bullpen, and he is not disappointed in that role. He's got one of the best changeups you'll see, and he'll throw it just about in any count, any situation. Anytime your ERA starts with a 0 in the college game, you're pretty good.
Yep. Allowed single runs 3 times against Dallas Baptist and Nebraska in back-to-back outings, and then against Missouri, final game of that series. Hasn't allowed a run in his last 4 outings. Is he from Harlan, Kentucky?
I think that sounds right.
The Patty Loveless version of "You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive" is one of the best songs you'll ever hear. Coal mining song in a coal mining town, Harlan, Kentucky, where the sun comes up about 10 in the morning and the sun goes down about 3 in the day. Bases loaded, 2 down. In for a strike, 0-1. Nothing in 2. Bonamolo with the bases loaded looks at the ball out of the strike zone. And Cowan is, I had just said it. I said he was from Blythewood, South Carolina. Then I asked if he was from Harlan, Kentucky. I don't even listen to myself. That's a sign of a bad listener. But I like it.
Yeah, Alabama in 3 in the 8th.
Mấy giờ Minh nhỉ? Không hai trong đau là đau sao cứ thêm ban mơ về một ngày bên nhau